This is an ironic, gloomy, and deliberately realistic excursion into the everyday life of a medieval court. You'll find yourself in the body of a court seducer whose reality is far from romance and glamour, replaced instead by filth, disease, intrigue, and an endless struggle for survival. The second person narration will immerse you in the grim underside of history, revealing just how fragile the illusions of power, beauty, and passion become when life itself hangs by a thread. But before you settle comfortably, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments from which city you're watching and what time it is right now. I'm always curious to see who has joined us. Now, get comfortable. We're about to begin. You wake not because of gentle morning rays brushing across your silken sheets, or the tender whisper of a lover's voice, but from the sour and heavy stench of your chamber, reminding you exactly where you are. Medieval mornings hold no romance, only reminders of discomfort. First comes the smell. Your nose, weary but resigned, catches a blend of old sweat, stale wine, rotting straw, and something else you prefer not to identify too closely. You yawn cautiously. Opening your mouth wide is dangerous. It reminds you of the painful gap between vanity and reality. You have teeth, certainly, but fewer than you once had, their edges yellowed, pitted from years of cheap wine and sweet cakes. You close your mouth quickly to trap your own sour breath. After all, your mouth is your greatest weapon. With reluctance, you swing your legs from the bed. Feet hit the floorboards, cold and grimy, sticky in places from long forgotten spillages. The fleas greet you enthusiastically, having waited all night for your warmth. You scratch idly, no longer even angry. Fleas are as constant as breathing, annoying but necessary, a bitter fact of life. The basin of water set by your bedside was fresh yesterday, but today it's lukewarm, grayish green, speckled with a delicate layer of dust. Still, you wash your face and neck in it, wincing at the oily texture. Cleanliness is relative, you remind yourself. The thin coating of grime left behind is a necessary shield from something worse. You apply perfume lavishly, masking yesterday's sweat beneath sharp lavender and musky civet, a costly blend designed to assault rather than please the senses. Dressing is another battle. Your garments, magnificent to behold, embroidered silk and velvet, studded with pearls, have not seen water or soap in weeks. They hang heavy and musty, stiffened by your sweat and oils of long days past. As you put on each layer, the fabric scratches your skin, chafing at raw places. Your body, the envy of the court, is a festering battleground beneath those silken garments. Every scratch a secret torment, every hidden rash a bitter irony. Breakfast is served in your chamber, stale bread softened in watered wine. You chew mechanically, ignoring the way bits of grit from stone-milled flour crunch between your teeth. Meat, you recall, is a rarity reserved for high feasts. Today, you make do with the bitter promise of something richer in the future. The wine is sour, tasting vaguely of metal, reminding you of your delicate stomach and the chronic ache that sits just beneath your rib cage. An old friend, this ache, born of indulgence and hunger in equal measure. After breakfast, you practice your smile, a practiced art, lips curved just enough to appear sincere, yet hiding your stained teeth, eyes narrowed just slightly, creating an illusion of intimacy and shared secrets. You check this expression in a polished bronze mirror, its distorted reflection making your face longer, uglier. You nod approvingly. An ugly truth suits you. After all, beauty is merely a suggestion whispered into ears desperate enough to listen. Now prepared for the day, you step out into the hallway. A cold, damp draft slices through your clothing, finding every weak point, reminding you that the castle itself despises comfort. The corridors are dim and filled with echoes, whispers of gossip, coughs that hint at disease, shuffling footsteps of tired servants who dream only of sleep or escape. You greet passing courtiers with deliberate precision, never too warmly, never too coldly. Each greeting a careful maneuver, the court a chessboard littered with broken pieces. You know the rules better than most. Affection and desire are mere pawns, discarded quickly, replaced easily. You smile graciously at a young page, noting his suspicious cough and pale complexion. Disease travels faster than gossip. Soon, he too will be a forgotten face, a footnote in the castle's endless narrative of misery. Stepping into the great hall, your stomach twists. Smoke from torches and braziers hovers low, combining with the pungent aroma of sweat, damp stone, and animal fat. Each breath tastes thick and foul, coating your tongue with the harsh reality of court life. You glide forward elegantly, ignoring the squeak of rats somewhere beneath the rush-strewn floor. Rats, fleas, lice, they outnumber you all, the true lords of this place. A young noblewoman approaches you, eyes glittering with ambition and naive fascination. Her lips part slightly, revealing teeth whiter than yours, a rare feat here, suspiciously rare. You smile charmingly, knowing every movement counts. Each seduction, each flirtation is a chess move toward survival. You bow low, ignoring the ache in your knees, already anticipating the delicate and tedious dance of meaningless flattery that awaits. You offer your hand, fingers trembling slightly. Is it exhaustion, hunger, or merely nerves frayed by endless vigilance? She accepts, her palm clammy, slightly feverish. You wonder idly which illness will claim her first. As you whisper practiced flattery, your words taste stale in your mouth, rehearsed, reused, endlessly recycled. Yet she blushes prettily. Another pawn, another day, another precarious step forward. By midday, your head throbs, a persistent, dull pain that reminds you life here is measured in discomfort. You retire briefly, ducking into a shadowy alcove to regain your strength. You lean heavily against cold stone, feeling it press into your spine, hard and unforgiving. Your life has taught you never to rely on softness. You close your eyes briefly, aware of whispers nearby. servants exchanging secrets, plotting minor treacheries, or complaining about endless work and meager rewards. Their bitterness comforts you oddly. At least honesty exists here in shadow, safely hidden from noble ears. Opening your eyes again, you straighten, smoothing your clothing despite knowing the wrinkles are permanent. You adjust your face to reflect calm confidence and effortless allure, though beneath that mask lies a weary, cynical creature, resigned to enduring yet another day. Thus, you step back into the hall, your stride graceful despite aching limbs, your smile bright despite hidden decay. This is your daily reality, a tedious loop of discomfort and cunning survival. You, the court seducer, trapped in this miserable dance, desired by many, envied by fools, loved by none. The irony, heavy as castle air, is that they still envy you. They see only the silk, the smiles, the false promises whispered in candlelit chambers. They never sense the fleas, the ache, or the slowly rotting truth beneath. You smile again, teeth carefully hidden, as you glide gracefully toward your next conquest. Thus begins yet another weary day at court, where your greatest talent remains convincing others that this unbearable, tedious, filthy life is somehow desirable. Your survival at court depends not on honor or bravery, nor even true charisma, but on your willingness to navigate the sordid underbelly of intrigue and calculated intimacy. Welcome back to another tedious day of courtly existence, where every step upwards feels more like sinking further into filth. This morning, you awaken sore, chilled, and numb to dignity. The sky, barely visible through the tiny window, is gray and heavy, mirroring your spirits exactly. Rising stiffly, you ponder your latest conquest. Not a lover, no, but merely a pawn maneuvered into believing the hollow promises whispered from your practiced lips. Her blush was innocent enough, yet innocence here spoils rapidly, turning rancid like meat left too long in the sun. Before you can even wash away yesterday's deceit, you hear footsteps approaching. Hastily, you rearrange your bedclothes, concealing stained sheets beneath layers of silk and brocade. A sharp knock announces a servant, face pale and taut with the daily anxiety of court life. In a trembling voice, he informs you of the Duke's summons. Your stomach clenches. The Duke's favor is valuable, yet always costly. His demands, hidden beneath perfumed pleasantries, exact a price paid in humiliation and desperate compromise. You dress quickly, your silk garments now stiff and smelling faintly of yesterday's sweat and spilled wine. The perfumes, heavier today, mask only superficial corruption. Each layer of scent merely accentuates your reality. Beneath all finery lies decay, inevitable and constant. As you walk down shadowed corridors, you pass familiar faces, each more miserable than the last. Courtiers, their gaudy costumes and exaggerated smiles barely masking anxiety and despair, nod courteously. They, like you, survive by understanding this fundamental rule. True power lies not in crowns or castles, but in secrets shared in hushed voices and transactions conducted behind heavy velvet curtains. Reaching the Duke's private chambers, you pause at the intricately carved doors, decorated with biblical scenes of virtue and chastity, an ironic touch, given the sins these walls conceal. You enter carefully, smile poised precisely between humility and confidence, your heartbeat quickened by practiced deceit. Inside, the Duke lounges lazily, his body hidden beneath folds of rich fabric designed to conceal obesity and illness. You bow deeply, ignoring your own discomfort, your muscles protesting the enforced submission. The Duke waves vaguely, a gesture dripping disdain masked as casual elegance. Today, you are tasked with seducing yet another noble, a young countess whose husband possesses lands critical to the Duke's ambitions. Her virtue, you are told with mocking amusement, will soon vanish beneath your practiced hands. You nod solemnly, your stomach turning at the thought, not from guilt, no, but from the endless repetition of sordid tasks. Leaving the Duke's presence, you pause briefly, breathing deeply of castle air, foul, stale, tinged with damp stone and humanity's persistent decay. Still, you steady yourself. This seduction, like all the others, will demand artifice, genuine passion, if you ever possessed it, died long ago beneath perfumed sheets and whispered lies. Love at court is no more than strategic coupling, romance reduced to merciless economics. Later, you attend a banquet where the court displays itself like rotten fruit gilded in thin layers of gold. Around tables piled high, with food that tastes virtually of rancid fat. Courtiers laugh loudly, drink heavily, and pretend desperately. Your eyes fall upon the young countess, your next unfortunate assignment. She sits stiffly, smiling uneasily beneath powdered cheeks, ignorant of her role in this endless charade. You approach her slowly, each step calculated for elegance and inevitability. She blushes again, lowering her eyes as if modesty might shield her from courtly predators like yourself. You whisper carefully rehearsed flattery, compliments on her beauty, wit, and virtue, each word bitterly false, yet delivered convincingly enough to evoke hope. She listens, entranced, never suspecting your boredom and mild revulsion beneath feigned passion. Hours later, behind velvet curtains, you find yourself engaged in a ritual of empty intimacy, your touch skilled but indifferent, each caress calculated for maximum deception. Her breath quickens. You wonder briefly if hers is genuine or just another act learned too quickly. You realize that you no longer care. Passion, real or imagined, holds no significance in your carefully measured existence. You emerge afterward into corridors, darkened by flickering torchlight, leaving the Countess wrapped in illusions of tenderness. Now comes the truly important part, reporting to the Duke, exchanging truths and half truths for promises that may or may not be honored. As you navigate dim hallways, shadows whisper accusations, reminders of dignity lost, and compromises made. Passing mirrors of polished bronze, your reflection is warped, elongated grotesquely, as distorted as the morality that governs your actions. You pause briefly, examining yourself. This reflection, twisted and unpleasant, feels closer to truth than anything else you've seen today. You return to your room exhausted, collapsing onto sheets that feel as cold and unforgiving as the stone beneath. No comfort awaits, only restless dreams populated by faces of those you've used and discarded. Sleep, once a refuge, now brings reminders of your hollow victories. You awaken abruptly to the scratching sound of rats gnawing at the wooden walls. Rats thrive here, nourished by discarded food, careless filth, and endless human negligence. You briefly envy them, their lives simpler, their battles clearer. At least rats never lie. Morning arrives, cold and relentless. You dress mechanically, already anticipating the day's obligations. More false smiles, more empty compliments, more meaningless intimacy traded for transient political advantage. Your stomach aches persistently, a dull pain familiar enough to feel almost comforting. Physical suffering reminds you that you still live, however reluctantly. As you walk again among courtly faces, you sense their envy. Fools who still believe in your glamorous illusion. They see only the seductive smile, fine clothes, whispered promises. They never glimpse your growing disgust or the desperate boredom hidden beneath every gesture. A new rumor circulates. The young countess has begun dreaming of you openly, her naivete amusing to jaded courtiers. You feign modesty, though inwardly your heart sinks. Another entanglement to manage, another false emotion to simulate convincingly. Nightfall finds you again at the Duke's chamber. He listens carefully, nodding approval at your skillful manipulation. His praise feels empty, your true reward always withheld, promised endlessly, yet never delivered. You leave feeling hollow, footsteps heavy, thoughts weighed down by futility. Returning to bed, you stare upward into darkness. You think briefly of escape, though no realistic path emerges. Your position, envied and despised, offers privilege without freedom. Survival demands constant compromise, dignity sold cheaply at each whispered request, each caress exchanged in shadows. Your final thought before slipping into uneasy sleep. Tomorrow, you must begin again. Seduction, intrigue, deception, tools worn thin, yet still necessary. You sigh deeply, resigned. This tedious routine is your existence, the cruel irony of climbing higher into favor, yet sinking ever deeper into filth. Another gray dawn drags you into consciousness. You wake, not rested, but rather exhausted by nightmares filled with whispers, betrayals, and accusations, dreams indistinguishable from your waking life. Such is the daily reality of court intrigue. Every day begins much the same: damp sheets, aching limbs, and the slow realization that your survival hinges on listening carefully behind curtains, on smiling just right, on never trusting anyone at all. Today feels particularly heavy. Your mouth tastes bitter from yesterday's wine, consumed not in celebration, but merely to blur the sharp edges of regret. You rise slowly, joints protesting, skin crawling beneath fabric too luxurious to afford washing regularly. You try not to think about lice, fleas, or bed bugs, the endless company you keep, more constant than any lover, more loyal than any friend. After dressing mechanically, you pause by the window, gazing over the fog shrouded courtyard. Below, servants shuffle about their meaningless tasks, their whispers muffled by mist. They too are rats, navigating the maze of power, rats like you, but smaller, simpler, and perhaps happier. At least their ambitions rarely exceed survival. Yours, unfortunately, always require more. Breakfast arrives, delivered silently by a servant whose eyes remain deliberately averted, as if meeting your gaze might reveal too many uncomfortable truths. The meal consists of dry bread, cheap wine, and some unidentifiable gray meat you barely touch. Eating is dangerous at court. Food, after all, is a weapon like any other, and poison an easily concealed means of advancement. You eat sparingly, sipping bitter wine slowly, waiting for nausea to pass. Soon, you leave your room, stepping carefully into dim corridors where shadows conceal 1,000 ears. Your life here revolves around the careful gathering and trading of information, secrets whispered like currency. Seduction is only a means to an end, intimacy merely a tool to access hidden truths. The real battle takes place unseen, behind heavy tapestries, behind smiling faces with sharp eyes and sharper tongues. In the grand hall, you pause to observe the quiet dance of power around you. Courtiers cluster in small groups, exchanging whispers masked as polite greetings. Their eyes flicker to you briefly, measuring, wary, evaluating. You respond with your practiced smile, concealing beneath layers of false charm the exhaustion that never quite leaves your bones. Today, your assignment is delicate, as always. The Duke suspects treachery from within. His paranoia, though justified, is tiresome. You must uncover the traitor's identity without becoming implicated yourself. It's a tedious balancing act, dancing on the edge of knives, forever cautious not to fall. The Duke's gratitude, if it ever appears, lasts merely as long as his mood remains stable. You must tread carefully, your value tenuous at best. You begin your investigations casually, conversing lightly with various courtiers, letting idle chatter mask your true intent. Gossip is the lifeblood of the castle, spreading like disease, infecting everyone eventually. One careless whisper can ruin lives, end careers, and send bodies quietly into unmarked graves beneath castle walls. Yet beneath your calm demeanor, you sense unease. You catch servants glancing nervously in your direction, whispering hurriedly as you pass. Suspicion, once planted, spreads swiftly. Your chest tightens as you realize that perhaps today you are not the hunter, but the hunted. Perhaps someone whispered your name in dark corners last night. Perhaps the traitor you seek has already turned accusations toward you. Throughout the afternoon, anxiety mounts. Meals become tasteless. wine increasingly bitter. You trust no one, though you smile warmly at everyone. Beneath polished courtesies lies the rotten heart of court politics, a game played for keeps, where mercy is weakness and trust an unforgivable folly. Evening approaches slowly, bringing with it shadows thick with menace. You attend the Duke's private gathering, a small circle of confidants who despise each other openly beneath cordial smiles. Here, amidst candles flickering sickly yellow, you perform your familiar role. You whisper flattery, laugh lightly at humorless jokes, feign interest in meaningless conversation, all while carefully observing those around you. The Duke, bloated and pale beneath heavy robes, eyes his courtiers suspiciously. You wonder idly how long until he too falls victim to a carefully administered poison or blade concealed within silk sleeves. His eyes linger on you briefly, calculating, cold. Your pulse quickens involuntarily, though you maintain your composure effortlessly. Years of court intrigue have taught you never to reveal fear, even when danger lurks inches from your throat. Hours pass, each moment heavy with tension. Eventually, guests disperse quietly, returning to chambers to plot or tremble. You retreat as well, seeking refuge not in sleep, but in careful reflection. Tonight, your dreams promise no peace. Back in your chamber, the silence amplifies your anxiety. Shadows shift unnaturally, the castle creaks ominously, and every muffled footstep in corridors feels threatening. You pace restlessly, nerves fraying rapidly beneath the weight of constant vigilance. Then, a soft knock startles you. Opening the door cautiously, you find one of the Duke's servants, pale faced and trembling. He whispers hurriedly, voice low and urgent. The traitor has been identified. Relief floods you briefly until he speaks the name, your own. Your heart freezes. The game is turned against you, your careful web unraveling swiftly. The servant vanishes silently, leaving you alone with dawning horror. You know immediately that innocence here counts for nothing. Justice is irrelevant. Only power matters, and tonight you lack it. You must act quickly. Gathering possessions hurriedly, you consider fleeing. Yet escape from the castle means risking death by starvation or violence in the harsh lands beyond. Staying, however, guarantees death within days, perhaps hours. Your choices narrow rapidly until none remain viable. Finally, resigned, you steady yourself. Survival here means betrayal, deceit, compromise, and violence. You must strike first, preempt accusations, shift blame, create enough doubt to survive another day. Your body feels heavy with dread and resolve, your pulse rapid with fear and adrenaline. Returning to shadowed halls, you slip silently toward the Duke's private rooms. Guards, accustomed to your comings and goings, nod silently as you pass, oblivious to your inner turmoil. Reaching his chambers, you hesitate briefly, heart pounding, then knock lightly. Permission to enter. Granted, you slip inside, your smile composed despite trembling hands, hidden in folds of velvet sleeves. You whisper carefully rehearsed accusations, accusing another, an innocent perhaps, but expendable pawn nonetheless. You feign outrage convincingly, your voice steady despite panic tightening your throat. The Duke listens coldly, expression unreadable. Silence stretches agonizingly, tension crushingly heavy. Finally, the Duke nods slowly, apparently convinced, for now. Relief floods you, bitter yet welcome. You have survived tonight, though guilt weighs heavier than ever. Returning to your chamber, nausea twists your stomach sharply. Another life sacrificed casually, another betrayal staining hands already dripping with countless sins. Sleep comes reluctantly, bringing dreams filled with accusing eyes, whispers of shame, ghosts crowding close, pressing silently against you in darkness. You wake repeatedly, sheets damp with cold sweat, heart pounding, breathing ragged with panic. Morning arrives mercilessly, bringing neither peace nor redemption, only continued anxiety, paranoia, and endless suspicion. Yet you rise, dress mechanically, and step carefully into castle halls once more. Your position remains perilous, your survival tenuous. Trust, innocence, peace. These are illusions here, discarded long ago. Today, like every other, you must listen carefully, whisper cunningly, and betray quickly. Each breath a battle, each heartbeat a wary rhythm measured in fear and compromise. You walk onward, weary but relentless, forever trapped near the throne, yet never safe. Just another rat scurrying in shadows, surviving only until luck finally runs out. Today, you awake into darkness, though sunlight spills half heartedly through grimy windows. Your body, once admired by every eye in the court, has become a cage of aches and pains, a prison of skin marked by the ceaseless march of illnesses, both subtle and grotesque. Age has crept quietly into your bones, but court life has accelerated the rot. Rising from bed is an effort, your joints cracking audibly. Beneath your garments, still luxurious, still unwashed, you hide rashes and sores, constant companions gained through a lifetime of dubious intimacy. You apply layers of perfumes, increasingly pungent concoctions designed not merely to entice, but to conceal the increasingly putrid truth beneath. Breakfast arrives as usual: sour wine, stale bread, salted fish you can barely stomach. You chew mechanically, though nausea sits perpetually at the edge of your consciousness. Eating has become another chore, joylessly done, a reminder of your deteriorating body and its constant rebellion against your wishes. Today, your assignment is particularly grim. A grand feast celebrates victory in a minor, distant war, insignificant except as a convenient distraction from the kingdom's internal decay. The feast will be lavish, extravagant, deliberately ignoring the pestilence spreading silently through the castle corridors. Rumors of illness have grown louder. You yourself have begun coughing quietly, tasting blood occasionally, but choosing denial over panic. You dress slowly, your silks heavier each day, burdened with accumulated sweat and sickness. In your mirror, your reflection appears sallow, eyes sunken, skin mottled beneath powders and ointments. You have long since abandoned any notion of genuine allure. Your seductive power now rests entirely on reputation, memory, and courtly desperation rather than youthful charm. Entering the grand hall later, your eyes water from clouds of incense, smoke from torches mingling unpleasantly with odors of roasting meats, perfumes, sweat, and underlying decay. Courtiers smile falsely, exchanging meaningless pleasantries, ignoring the faint but undeniable stench of death wafting through the hall. You mingle mechanically, exchanging flattery, feigning fascination, hiding revulsion. Today, your target is a visiting ambassador, an older nobleman whose favor the Duke urgently seeks. Your task: secure loyalty through seduction, despite your failing body, despite your distaste, despite the growing ache in your chest. Hours drag slowly as musicians play, dancers whirl, and wine flows freely. You approach your target gradually, your smile carefully calibrated, charm strained beneath exhaustion and creeping fever. He smiles indulgently, oblivious to your carefully hidden misery. His hand, heavy with rings, grips yours too tightly, and you feel his clammy sweat mingle disgustingly with your own. Eventually, in shadowed privacy behind heavy curtains, your performance begins. Each touch is mechanical, each whispered word hollow. Your heart pounds unpleasantly, breaths shallow with fatigue and suppressed pain. The ambassador's enthusiasm repulses rather than flatters you, yet your expression remains convincing. Years of practice mask your true feelings effortlessly, though your body quietly revolts, each caress a bitter reminder of your slow decay. Afterward, you retreat hastily, hiding nausea behind a polite smile. Alone in the corridor, you cough violently, tasting blood sharply now. Panic rises, but you push it away fiercely. Illness at court is weakness. Weakness is fatal. Passing servants avoid your gaze. They whisper rumors, guessing correctly at your condition, adding fear to your already overwhelming anxiety. Your breathing grows labored, yet dignity demands you maintain appearances. Returning to your chambers, you collapse, coughing violently again, wiping blood discreetly away. A sharp pain pierces your lungs with each breath, your body punishing you relentlessly for your life of calculated excess. Darkness falls, deepening your despair. Servants bring remedies, bittersweet herbal concoctions that burn your throat but offer no relief. You know these medicines are meaningless, mere placebos against deeper corruption. Your illness, the slow accumulation of decades, cannot be cured by herbs or prayers. Night deepens further, your chamber echoing with distant sounds, rats gnawing, servants whispering, coughing from other rooms, a chorus of quiet suffering permeating castle walls. Fever takes hold, sweat soaking your bedding, visions swimming before your eyes, faces from your past appear, lovers betrayed, friends abandoned, rivals poisoned quietly beneath your carefully woven schemes. Sleep offers no escape. Dreams blur into hallucinations, vivid and merciless. You stand at feasts filled with rotting foods, dance among courtiers whose faces melt grotesquely into masks of plague and decay. The ambassador's clammy grip returns, transformed into a choking vice, smothering you slowly beneath relentless, indifferent hands. You awaken gasping, chest burning, throat raw. Morning sunlight mocks you cruelly, illuminating your pale, clammy skin, your hollow cheeks. Mirrors reflect a stranger, twisted and fading, no longer recognizable as the admired figure of your youth. Yet pride compels you to rise again, your stubborn vanity refusing surrender even to death. Dressed once more, you return unsteadily to court life. Your steps feel heavier, breathing painful and shallow. Courtiers avoid you subtly, fearful of contagion, wary of your dwindling usefulness. Even your carefully honed charm struggles to hold their interest today. You glimpse pity or disgust in their eyes, both equally intolerable. The Duke summons you later, privately. His chambers reek of medicinal herbs, incense, and hidden fear. His expression, pale and drawn beneath heavy layers of finery, reveals illness identical to your own. He asks quietly about your health. You lie instinctively, though both of you know the truth. He dismisses you quickly, interest fading rapidly, your declining state rendering you useless in his calculations. Panic grips you briefly, realizing your power, your life, hangs now by a weakening thread. Returning to solitude, you reflect bitterly. Decades of courtly intrigue, endless seductions, ruthless betrayals. Yet in the end, your value measured only by strength, beauty, and cunning. Illness robs you of each, exposing the brutal truth. You too are disposable. As evening returns, your fever rises sharply. You drift uneasily between dreams and reality, the castle's walls seeming closer, darker, heavier. Hallucinations torment you endlessly. You dance again among plague ridden courtiers, their bodies grotesque, collapsing around you. You cry out, but no voice emerges, only a strangled whisper. Hours drag endlessly until dawn finally arrives, offering little hope. Yet stubbornly, you rise again, clothing yourself mechanically, applying cosmetics that fail to conceal the pallor, the shadows beneath hollow eyes. Your hands tremble uncontrollably, chest rattling ominously with each breath. Stepping into corridors again, you feel increasingly ghostly, a fading presence slipping unnoticed through shadows. Courtiers pass without acknowledgement, your existence already forgotten, your position already replaced by younger, healthier rivals eager to mimic your ruthless methods. You linger briefly near mirrors, your reflection barely visible now, an apparition, a fading echo of former glory, consumed slowly by illness and regret. Yet pride forces you forward, even as your body rebels, even as breathing grows increasingly difficult. Dignity, fragile yet stubborn, compels you to maintain appearances until the very end. Finally, exhausted, defeated, you retreat to your chambers once more, alone in darkness, coughing violently, Tasting blood thickly, you understand the bitter truth clearly at last. This castle, this life, built entirely on illusion, ambition, and betrayal, ultimately devours its inhabitants without mercy. You lie back weakly, staring upward into shadows, resigned now. Tomorrow promises no improvement, no relief, only more pain, more deceit, more relentless decay. Yet stubbornly, hopelessly, you cling to life, trapped still by vanity, pride, and habit. Outside your window, bells toll quietly, mourning another victim claimed silently overnight by plague, intrigue, or poison. You listen quietly, wondering briefly when they will toll, finally, for you. You wake slowly, consciousness seeping back reluctantly, like dirty water through cracks in stone. Your room is dim, grayed by early morning shadows. Pain greets you first, a dull, persistent ache spreading through limbs grown heavy, through lungs thickened and scarred by sickness. Yet, stubborn pride lifts you once more from damp sheets, demanding that you maintain appearances even as your body betrays you. Today, you sense with bitter clarity will be your last dance. Survival now depends entirely on a desperate gamble, one final intrigue, bold enough to preserve your fading dignity, or at worst, allow you to fall gracefully. The illusion you have built so carefully has shattered, leaving only bitter shards of regret scattered beneath your failing feet. Breakfast arrives, untouched. Your stomach recoils at the mere thought of food. Even wine, once your constant companion, tastes metallic and bitter. You cough deeply, tasting blood again, hiding the stain discreetly within crumpled cloth. Death waits impatiently now, watching closely from shadowed corners, familiar and intimate as any lover you've ever known. Still, pride pushes you forward, dressing meticulously, each movement painfully slow. You apply makeup and perfumes as if preparing for a funeral, perhaps your own. Layers of silk and velvet feel heavier than armor, but you wear them defiantly, your final shield against humiliation. In mirrors polished dimly, your reflection mocks you, gaunt features, hollow eyes, skin nearly translucent beneath powders and paint. Once a symbol of seduction, your face has become a ghostly mask, haunting your own vision. Yet today, vanity demands denial. You straighten, forcing yourself upright, dignity a thin veneer over panic and decay. Exiting your chambers, you sense whispers trailing behind you, servants murmuring, courtiers exchanging knowing glances. Everyone senses the end approaching, eager vultures awaiting your fall. Your smile, brittle as porcelain, masks exhaustion as you move deliberately toward the great hall where your fate awaits. A masquerade ball has been planned, a bitter irony, disguising courtly corruption beneath colorful masks, fine fabrics, and hollow laughter. Tonight, intrigue reaches its climax. Your carefully plotted scheme, desperate and fragile, aims to remove threats, silence accusers, restore your tenuous favor, or else end everything spectacularly. Entering the grand hall, music assaults you, discordant beneath forced cheerfulness. Masked faces turn, appraising you silently, their hidden eyes sharp, predatory. Each smile you encounter feels mocking, each greeting subtly hostile. Your breath catches painfully, the oppressive heat intensifying dizziness. Still, you glide forward smoothly, driven solely by pride and the relentless rhythm of your heart, pounding defiantly beneath layers of silk. Your plan begins discreetly, whispers delivered carefully, poison dropped delicately into willing ears. Accusations crafted cleverly, intended to sow confusion, distrust, and panic. Tonight, alliances will fracture beneath the weight of suspicion, ambition twisted into violent betrayal. If successful, you survive, vindicated by chaos. If not, you fall spectacularly, ensuring at least your name remains unforgettable. Hours pass slowly, tension rising steadily. Each whispered conversation tightens the noose around your neck or loosens it slightly. Your body trembles beneath garments dampened by feverish sweat, your breathing shallow and labored. Pain, constant and sharp, grinds your bones relentlessly. Finally, summoned privately, you approach the Duke's chambers. Guards eye you coldly, nodding permission to enter, indifferent to your hidden terror. Within, the Duke sits rigidly, his face pale and sweating beneath a mask of exaggerated cheerfulness. His illness mirrors your own, yet his eyes remain ruthless. He speaks softly, dangerously calm. Your heart freezes at his words. Accusations turned against you again, plots unraveled swiftly, betrayers betraying further. Your plan, fragile from the beginning, has collapsed spectacularly. Panic grips your throat tightly, yet pride maintains your mask. You smile bitterly, accepting defeat silently, dignity your final refuge. Dismissed coldly, you exit numbly, legs weak beneath you. The great hall feels oppressive, masks leering grotesquely, shadows deepening into nightmares. Your heartbeat pounds painfully, vision blurring as fever spikes violently. Suddenly, dizziness overwhelms you. You stumble, clutching a wall, coughing violently into trembling hands, staining silk discreetly with blood. Courtiers watch coldly, unmoved by your plight, your fall a predictable spectacle, entertainment for jaded observers accustomed to cruelty. With desperate dignity, you retreat toward your chambers, each step weaker, vision narrowing steadily. You collapse finally within the safety of your room, body racked by uncontrollable coughing. Darkness gathers closely, surrounding you like velvet curtains drawn for the final act. Hours blur indistinctly, pain sharp and constant, breathing agonizing. Fevered dreams return vividly, ghosts from your past appearing silently, lovers betrayed, enemies poisoned discreetly, friends discarded casually. Each face whispers accusations, eyes filled with bitter judgment. Finally, consciousness returns briefly. You sense movement nearby. Someone enters quietly. Turning painfully, you glimpse a masked figure, identity obscured deliberately. The intruder approaches slowly, silently, Panic surges, yet resignation follows swiftly. Death, long expected, arrives quietly, intimately familiar. The intruder steps closer, reaching carefully toward the cup at your bedside. You watch silently, understanding clearly. Poison, your familiar tool, now returns inevitably, administered by another's careful hand. The figure raises the cup gently, offering it wordlessly, as if in final, ironic kindness. You accept quietly, lips trembling slightly. Bitter liquid touches your tongue, familiar taste confirming your suspicions. You drink deeply, pride demanding dignity even now. The masked figure retreats silently, leaving you alone once more in shadows. Pain intensifies sharply, breath becoming shallow, vision dimming steadily. Memories flood swiftly. Life at court, relentless intrigue, meaningless seductions, betrayals piled carelessly atop one another, vanity, pride, ambition, each sin returning bitterly, judgment rendered quietly within your own fading mind. Outside, bells toll quietly, mourning another victim claimed discreetly overnight. Tonight, those bells mourn you, a final irony, your name lost quickly, replaced immediately by younger, healthier rivals eager to repeat your mistakes. Consciousness fades gently, breath slowing to shallow gasps. You gaze upward into shadows, bitterness softened finally by acceptance. Vanity dies first, replaced by resignation. Ambition follows quietly, pride fading last, reluctantly relinquished. You close your eyes slowly, welcoming darkness finally as friend rather than enemy. The castle continues unchanged, intrigues woven endlessly, seductions repeated mechanically, betrayals constant beneath masks of politeness. Your name, forgotten swiftly, becomes a mere footnote, another victim claimed by ambition, deceit, and disease. Yet briefly, somewhere within shadows, someone whispers your name, a cautionary tale perhaps, warning younger courtiers to avoid your fate. Your final legacy, bitterly ironic, becomes a fleeting lesson swiftly ignored, repeated inevitably by others doomed to follow your path. You, the court seducer, fallen finally, dignity preserved bitterly through acceptance of inevitable defeat, fade quietly into oblivion, ashes scattered quickly by winds indifferent to your struggles, your ambitions, your vanity. Outside, morning breaks coldly, gray and indifferent, marking another tedious cycle, beginning anew. Your life ends silently, forgotten swiftly, yet endlessly repeated. Thus concludes your final dance, a masquerade ending bitterly, dignity preserved only briefly, illusion shattered inevitably, seduction ultimately meaningless. Only silence remains, a final, fitting tribute to your life, spent endlessly whispering empty words, embracing false affections, hiding truths beneath careful lies. The court seducer, at last seduced by death, final irony bitterly complete.